Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order on December 10th. Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for two reasons tonight. One is for the passing of our previous mayor, Dina Cola, last week, November 29th, and the other is one of our previous commissioners, Jim Palomar, is in the hospital. So for 10 seconds, I'd like you to silence. Thank you. You may be seated. Ian, would you? Okay. You don't look like Ian.
No, I do not. Commissioner Flags?
Yeah.
Commissioner Hanna?
Here.
Commissioner Hoofnagel?
Here.
Vice Mayor Palumbo? Here. Mayor Kennedy?
Here.
All members present.
Thank you. Agenda item number 1 is the report of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, if you'd like to come forward at this time. And I'd also like to, I always tell everyone in the audience that if you ever have an opportunity before the meeting, the Sheriff's Department is here 15 minutes early if you would like to talk to them privately. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sergeant Tacey. I'm going to be doing the statistical data for November 19. You guys did get this. It came out today. Okay, page 1. For November 2019, there was 1 aggravated assault and 4 larcenies. I'm going to go over that today because there wasn't a whole lot of big stuff on last month's data. But the 1 aggravated assault was a domestic where it got to the strangulation point and that person went to jail. They're not a Indian Rocks resident, so we should not have continued issues with that. The 4 larcenies, there was a 2 cell phone thefts out of a golf cart that was left in the park. Cab fare, a domestic where an iPhone was stolen, and stolen iPhone from a bar. So there seems to be a theme there. But that's it for page 1. On page 2, there were 5 people arrested with a total of 7 charges. And I went over the highlights of that already. Page 3 was a total of 769 events with 1,072 units responding to the city. I always like to point out the top portion of this activity is pretty much mostly self-initiated. I went ahead and calculated if you go down to vehicle abandoned, pretty much from there up is self-initiated. So 578 of those assigned tasks were self-initiated of the 769. So guys are out there staying active. The page 4, 7 car crashes. They again, I like to look and see if there's a problem area. They're pretty much all over. It's not a specific area. I think in the past we've seen some south of 5th, but we can't even say that right now. It's all over the city along Golf Boulevard. There was 327 citations. That breaks up to 1 voting citation, 5 voting warnings, 11 parking citations, 29 traffic citations, and 281 warnings, traffic warnings. That's all I have. You guys have anything?
Commissioner Hawking?
Just wanted to thank you guys for your support during our Christmas parade.
It's our pleasure. Our pleasure.
Anyone else? In the past, we've had some issues with residents leaving their doors open in their cars and having things stolen out of them. How is that whole week? How's that going?
Last month there was, I forget how many, it was all on Bahia Vista, I believe. There was 1 finger out there that they hit and they actually got some cars. We have not had any since that incident.
So just a reminder to the residents that we need to lock our doors and our cars, and I know better, okay? I block it now, but for years and years that none of us locked our doors. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Agenda item number 2 is public comment. Any member of the audience may come forward, give their name and address, and state any comments or concerns that may have over any matter which the city commission has control, excluding agenda items, and each speaker has the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Is there anyone who'd like to come forward at this time? Please state your name and address.
Thank you. My name is John Owens. I live at 111 16th Avenue, 6 months of the year. And I'd like to talk about pickleball noise. Notwithstanding the fact that my belief and the belief of several surrounding neighbors that the court should not have been built there to begin with, so close to private homes. And I'm assuming you're not about to plow it under. So I'm asking the city commission to direct its recreation department to continue the noise abatement efforts that were suspended. And I'm also asking that the hours be restricted of use, much like they are for the skate park and the boat ramp. Reason being that right now, 6 mornings of 7, since I've been here in the 1st of November, there are people playing pickleball, and 4 to 8 normally it's always the same group. I understand some of them don't even reside in Indian Rocks Beach, and one of the joys of, I guess you would all know, living in Florida, is that first thing in the morning it's nice to go outside with a cup of coffee and enjoy the start of the day. I have to get up before sunrise because they're there at 7:15 every day except Sunday. And the noise is ridiculous. Not just the sound of the game, which I find really annoying anyway, but it's the laughing, the screeching, the volume to me is, I've never seen it, never heard it this bad. And I think as another neighbor to the north tried speaking with them and was told they like playing early, and then pretty well ignored after that. So, as I say, I think the only thing that can be done is hours of enforcement, like the skate park. And I also think we met with Mr. Sharman last year, appreciated the meeting. We've sent several emails after that. He pointed out that the noise dampening screen was going up. It went up on one side. And I'm no acoustical engineer, but I'm betting it has to go up on all 4 sides for it to have any effect. So I'm hoping that would continue. He also suggested plantings, and again, I'd love to see if that works. Not the 2 palm tree trunks. I don't think they stop much sound, but fairly tall shrubs, thick shrubs or something. And I hope the City Commission considers my request and will act on it. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Is there anyone else who'd like to come up at this time? Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission and City Manager and staff. While it's not an agenda item, hint, hint, I thought I'd provide you with an update from the Fire Commission.
You may do so.
As your Fire Commissioner representing Indian Rocks Beach. So I wanted to tell you that the new fireboat is in possession, and it's at Fire Station number 27 here in IRB. And so right now we're working on issues related to the dock and the lift and training on use of the boat. I wish it would be ready in time for next Saturday night, but it won't be. Maybe next year, hopefully. It definitely will be available next year unless there's a call. Truck number 28, which is the new pumper aerial that was damaged soon after it was placed in service. That was officially placed back in service on November 23rd. Some of you may have seen it parked in front of Station 27 last week. And lastly, I continue to work with City Manager Mims on Fireworks Task Group and remain available for anything he needs. Thanks.
Thank you, David.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year to you all.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come up at this time? Good evening, Clamor.
Hi there. I 16 Bayshore Boulevard. Silver bells, jingling here and ring. It's almost Christmas in the city. It was very pleasurable spending the Christmas with the Christmas tree lighting and the street parade. Every year, I treat Christmas now as my last Christmas because I still can't get good affordable health care in America. But the reason I'm here is I usually go to Monday with the mayor, and I told her that I am available for Coyote Ugly. 3 key points that FWC made was coyotes are omnivores. They'll eat everything. The second is they're an apex predator. There's only wolves and cougars that will, eat them. And the third is my favorite. FWC said the best defense against the coyote was a 6-foot fence. So hopefully, maybe Santa will bring me a 6-foot fence for Christmas, so I can be just like the code and have a gated community at the Clemmer residence. Merry Christmas to all, except the coyotes.
Thank you, Mr. Clemmer. Is there anyone else who'd like to come up at this time? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to ask for reports of the city attorney.
No report.
Report of the city manager.
Thank you. I'll take a little longer than I usually do. I missed the last meeting, so I'm going to catch you up on the projects and things that are going on. David mentioned fireworks. In the next few days, every resident of the city, every business owner that owns a business tax receipt from the city will receive a postcard from the city reminding individuals what the rules are about fireworks. There'll be signs at all beach accesses. There'll be 3 electronic signs on loan from the sheriff's office at all 3 entrances into town. There'll be fire trucks in the fingers reminding people about fireworks. There'll be additional marked and unmarked sheriff's deputies in the city reminding people about fireworks. And, we've had a couple meetings on this. It's clear up with it. There's no task force. I asked for input from a group of citizens. And, the main focus of this initially is education. It's to educate the public about what's allowed and what's not. It'll take us, as we talked about, we had the work session on fireworks. It'll take 2 or 3 cycles to make some improvement in some of the problems that we had on July 4th. And I'll just remind the commission that no one ever guaranteed anybody that we would eliminate the problem completely, but we definitely could make some progress with rolling it back. So the main focus is education. The citation route will be the last resort. That's up to the discretion of our code enforcement officer, but primarily the law enforcement of deputies that'll be on the beach. If someone's cooperative, no action will be taken if it's no cooperation and not doing what they need to do. But we'll go through this process now on New Year's Eve, and we'll go through it again on July the 4th, and I think you'll see some improvement. I wanted to thank Rhonda from the FWC that came and put on the educational session concerning coyotes. I know there was some people that were heated with her during the meeting, but we invited FWC to come here and put on a presentation, and they've done that all over the county. I mean, this is not just an Indian Rocks Beach issue. In fact, one of the stories that I told in one of my staff meetings is I had a discussion with a private trapper, just trying to get an idea about the volume of the problem. And we probably have 2 to 3 coyotes in town. And believe it or not, they have video of these things crossing the Bel Air Bridge about 4 o'clock in the morning. They come through Indian Rocks Beach and they make a big loop through Bel Air and they come back around. So that's what you heard if y'all went to the educational session. They kind of have an area that they roam in, and that's what we're dealing with. And I think you know, every publication that we put out now, we'll put little reminders and little informational things, the do's and don'ts about that. And we'll see how that goes for a while. The 32-unit low-rise townhome PUD project that y'all approved back in the fall, earlier in the fall, they started work today on that. That's primarily between now and about April. It's just the site work. They'll come back to y'all in sometime right after the first of the year to replat that property from the multiple parcels into one big lot. That's a routine thing that will show up on your agenda. But they have begun work down there. So if they're putting in the silk fences today. Undergrounding project, contrary to some phone calls I've gotten, most of what you see south of the intersection is not our project. That's the FDOT drainage project that runs all the way from our main intersection south through Indian Shores. The only thing that we have going on down there, there's one Duke crew that started today. It's a 4-person crew. They're starting to pull their own cable, wire. That whole process on our project will take about a year because they have to do it. Spectrum has to do it. All the different utilities have to do that. So it'll be about a year, and then you'll start seeing the transition where they'll start taking down power lines and putting in the new street light poles and that kind of thing. So the bulk of what you see down there is not our folks, it's FDOT's drainage project. The High Vista Street reconstruction project's come along well. You know, as in the last 3 or 4 years, that's a complete rebuild of the street. They're installing a new concrete curb right now. We think that the complete finish of that project is probably around the 1st of March is when they'll be finished. Another capital project is in the 5-year capital plan, which is for this year, is the solar light retrofit for City Hall. Dean did his magic when he got back to work 2 or 3 weeks ago. We got back on capital projects. We originally got estimates to replace all these lights, the lights in the library and the lights in the public services department, because those are not LEDs. And the lowest estimate we have is about $14,000. We actually now have found a company that will keep the new fixtures that we have and just really replace the innards of the fixture. So we can get all these lights updated for about $5,000. So that saves us about $10,000 doing it that way. And then we'll put out an RFP for the solar piece of it, and that eventually will come back to the commission to approve the low bidder and that. So we're working on that. The big check over on the side about 6 weeks ago, along with Hetty and another gentleman from their firm. We had a meeting with SwiftBud, and we successfully negotiated and entered into the terms of the 2 stormwater projects. So that check reflects the additional $122,000 that we're able to negotiate for those 2 projects. The Christmas tree lighting was a huge success. I want to thank A2K. I want to thank Krabby Bill's. I want to thank our DJ that we had. And just the commission for y'all being there, and the people that hung around to help us clean up afterwards, particularly Eric Meyer is a trooper. He hung out, helped us, but that went off great. Street parade was great. And I'll tell you, the boat parade, which is on the 21st, the schedule's really off this week because everything's later. You know, normally this time of the month, we may have 10, 12, 15 boats signed up. We're already up to about 38. We had 35 last year. Wow. And normally people sign up at the end. So this without question will be the largest boat parade that we've had. So those are really rolling in. The Gulf Boulevard Visioning final report session is set for February the 13th. It starts at 5 o'clock, and we'll do the exact same thing we did before. We'll do postcards, we'll do press releases, we'll do all that stuff. So that's coming. And last but not least, on behalf of Michelle and I, and all the IRB team members, I want to wish every single one of y'all a happy holiday and Merry Christmas. And just on my part, tell you what a joy it is for Michelle and I to live and work here, and we just enjoy every minute of it. But I'll be happy to answer any questions about anything I covered or anything I didn't cover.
Anyone have any questions for the city manager? No? Okay. No? Commissioner Hofnagel, do you have a report tonight?
I don't have a report, although I would like to request that perhaps we could include on our agendas going forward an item for the fire commissioner to present like the sheriff does, so he could be up under the presentation.
Absolutely wonderful, yes.
And it's
Okay.
is that good? Great, thank you. And it's not appropriate, so don't respond, David, but there was one thing I was hoping that the fire department was looking at some short-term rentals issues. So if next month when David comes back, maybe we can hear about that. I don't want to have a dialogue right now, it's not appropriate for me, but anyway, so that'd be great. Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Commissioner Flagg?
I just want to wish everyone a very happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and thank the city for all of our events so far and more to come. We're very lucky to be in a city that is so small, yet have so much to offer the residents here. So I know I truly appreciate it, and my family does, and I want to say thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Commissioner Hannah?
I want to wish everybody a very good holiday and tell the city and all of the clubs that participated in our events, it was just outstanding. Everybody did a great job. I appreciate that. Carol McLaughlin gave me a parking solutions flyer that I told her that I would read for the record. But these are just some suggested solutions that your group has come up with, or a group of people. Is that correct? Okay, so let me just very quickly read these. Parking solutions says, we wish to offer solutions for the problems that affect IRB residents who prefer the peaceful and calm lifestyle that our residential community has enjoyed for decades. Number one, prohibit all on-street parking with the following exceptions. The city designates public parking spaces and provides white-lined and handicapped spaces on the beach accesses and in the business triangle. A, limit unregistered vehicles, those without IRB parking stickers, to the hours of 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. in those spaces. B, legitimate licensed contractors and workers are exempt during the approved working hours, 7 a.m. to 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. Make sure that workers comply with the existing ordinances. Enforce the ordinance. C, issue special parking permits to legal residents for private parties, i.e. birthdays, graduations, etc., for a designated date and time, and enforce that ordinance. Number two, resolve that parking on all public streets is legal only for vehicles with valid parking stickers. A, make parking on the city streets without an IRB sticker a ticketed offense. B, issue tickets with significant fines for all offenses. Correct? Okay. So this may stem from several things, and I'm assuming part of it is short-term rentals, where we end up with a tremendous amount of cars parking in the streets and on yards and everything else, which is an ongoing issue that we're addressing. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Colombo?
I would like to echo everyone's happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I would also like to take a second to wish my fellow commissioner very good luck tomorrow, or Thursday, I'm sorry, with a medical procedure that he's going under, and we wish him the best. All of our thoughts and prayers are with him. Appreciate it.
Thank you. A few things. First, I wanted to mention about our previous mayor, Bob DiNicola, who had passed away, and you may or may not know this, but he's the longest serving mayor we have had in Indian Rocks Beach. He served 12 years and previously another 8 years as a commissioner. He was my mentor. I loved him very much, learned an incredible amount about this job from him, working with him. There were many elected officials and worked with him on the board that were at his funeral yesterday. I just would like to mention the Honorable Gene Scott, Larry Sanford, Mayor R.B. Johnson, Terry Wallen, Phil Hanna, Ed Hofnagel was there. His city manager at the time, Tom Brobel, was there. Chief John Leahy from the fire chief, was the fire chief at that time when Mayor DiNicola served as our mayor. Father Bob Wagonseal, who was the priest at the Episcopal Church, was there. Mayor George Creticus from Clearwater was there, who had actually at the Mayor's Council luncheon for Christmas had said a prayer for Mayor DeNicola. From our staff, we had Dean Sherman and Deanna O'Reilly. So there were a lot of people who cared very much about him. I'd like to tell you just a few of the things that when you drive down Gulf Boulevard and you see those today, Mayor DeNicola had a part in these different projects, and one was the Nature Preserve. And the very first 3 crosswalks that we had were because of Mayor DeNicola. He served on the Barrier Island Governmental Council, and he also served on the Planning Council and the Metropolitan Planning Organization. And because of the wonderful relationship that he had with Pinellas County, and at that time, many mayors did not have that kind of a relationship, they put 3 crosswalks in as a prototype to see if the beaches, how they would work. And because they were such a success, you now see those today in many of the communities on the beaches. When I became a commissioner in 1999, my first time, our city really didn't have much of beautification on Gulf Boulevard, and Mayor DeNicola was very instrumental in the process of beginning beautification. One of my fondest memories of him was when I got on the commission, I came up with this idea that we should do an Indian Rocks Beach Gala to see if we could raise money to start a beautification project. And I went into our city manager at the time, Tom Grobel, and he was a finance guy, and he rang it all up and he figured out how much it would cost, and he said, I think we could make $10,000 from this project. So, but I had to go before the commission to see if they would be willing to allow me to do this kind of a project, because we hadn't done really anything that the city was involved with, and I would have to do it on my own because of the violation of the Sunshine Law. So I came before the commission, and it was a 3-2 vote. 2 of the commissioners did not think it was, for whatever reason, they did not vote for it. And so after it was voted that we could do it, Mayor DeNicola came up to me after the meeting and he said, don't you dare screw this up. So we did, and we made I think we made $11,000. And so that was kind of in the beginning of Action 2000 and some of the beautification that we have started, and that was one of the projects that I remembered. He has had an involvement with the Historical Museum, and the skate park, the Art Center, the Welcome Center, and very involved. At one time we had the YMCA here, and the very first, the biggest beach bash that we had, his granddaughter Farah, who is in her 30s now, she was the president. We had like a teen group, and we were having some issues with teenagers doing, vandalizing. So she went to her papa and said that she wanted to see if they could do some kind of a project. So they came up with the biggest beach bash, and it was to keep kids off the street and do something that would focus on. They would have fun, but it would also, be a good project for the city. So that's how that started. I hate when someone who has contributed so much, especially to me personally. I said at his funeral that I felt that besides my parents, my life journey as far as an elected official, I owe it to him because of all of the great things that he taught me, and he will be missed. So I did want to mention Mayor DeNicola tonight. We have 2 events that weren't mentioned that I want to bring up. Is we have the Parade of Homes this week. I believe it's Saturday, and it starts at 12 noon if you're interested in going to that. And the other event that is also very exciting coming up, and I hope that, I believe there are some secret tickets out there if you're interested. They're hard to find, but this will be for the Save the Cottage artists on January 11th. They're going to be here, and they're going to be showing their documentary, and there's going to be a reception at the Art Center. So if you are interested, I'm sure that if you called the Plein Air Cottage artists, perhaps you could still get a ticket to go to that. I wanted to single out Commissioner Hofnagel and myself, and the fact that we are not going to have an election, and we will have a new commissioner up with us in March. No one ran against us, so I wanted to congratulate him and the fact that we'll be together for at least another 2 years. And Joe McCall, who is the president of the homeowners, will now be joining us, and we will be losing my favorite Vice Mayor, who I adore. And we will definitely miss you.
Thank you.
I thought I was your favorite.
See, I do that all. The other thing I did want to mention to David, that you're here today, at Mayor DiNicola's funeral, when we were leaving St. Jerome's, the fire department was there, and they put up the ladders so that everybody went under and they were saluting and everything, because Mayor DiNicola was very involved with the fire department, and please tell him thank you, because it was beautiful, and I know that Remy DiNicola thought it was awesome, so I wanted to add that too. And I think with that,
I'll pass it.
I think I told everything that I'm supposed to, except, Greg, I wanted to mention that I've worked with 3 city managers in my tenure, the 2 different times that I've served on the commission, and they were all wonderful. I've been very blessed to have worked with great staff, and I do adore Greg Mims and his wife, and he has raised, how much money have you raised in grants for us, Greg? I think it's up there, but you can say it out loud.
It's on the check over there.
Can you read it for me?
1.2 million.
$1.2 million. And how many years have you been here?
6.5.
6.5. So that's a pretty good amount of money. And he has kept us fiscally intact. And I like to tell the story that his wife is also a financial person in the city of Tarpon Springs, and every year you have to take a class. And she went to this class, and lo and behold, they were representing 2 kinds of cities, large cities on the screen and small cities. And what city do you think was represented by a small city who was the kind of city everybody that should hope that their city was like? And it was the city of Indian Rocks Beach, because of how well this city is run. So I want to thank you for all you've done in the time you've been here, and I want to wish all of our commission and everybody's here a happy holiday. And with that, we'll go to agenda item number 4. Are there any additions or deletions?
Could we add a work session discussion real quick about the parking recommendation?
Yes. Do you want to do that tonight, or do you want to?
Oh, we'll just talk about it, number 8.
Okay.
Unless you want to. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because I'd like to get some input from, people I've talked to, residents that have some concerns about parking, so I think it would be very good if the commission could put it as a workshop item in the first quarter of the year.
Are you okay with that, Ed? If we wait and do it then?
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Okay, okay with everybody?
Yeah, I think we should have some announcements.
I do too. Okay. All right.
We'll just get it scheduled.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. Consent agenda. Give me a moment here. Yes, sir. Randy?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir. Would you please read the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, there's one item on the consent agenda. Item A, approval of the November 12, 2019 regular city commission meeting minutes.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We will go to agenda item, public hearing 6A, ordinance number 2019-09, public hearing and second on final reading. Randy? Okay, see, I'm not the only one. I have papers all over too.
Does anybody have the full text? I don't have a PDF open at the moment.
Here, I will clean them.
So ordinance number 2019-09, amending chapter 22, elections, article 4, election administration, section 22, dates of election of the code of ordinances, amending the process for runoff and tied elections. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2019-09.
Does the commission have any questions for the city attorney? Anyone?
No.
Okay, with that, then I'm going to open the public hearing. It is now open for comment. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward and state your name and address clearly for the record. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve ordinance 2019-09.
Second.
Okay, is there any comments?
No.
Second? Okay. Randy, will you be calling the roll?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I will be. Hearing the motion in the second and no further discussion, Commissioner Flagg?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanna?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoofnagel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes. Motion carries. We will now go to 6B, BOA case number 2019-08, 349 12th Avenue. Randy, would you like to present this?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I'll be at least starting with the quasi-judicial explanation.
Okay.
Staff will otherwise do its presentation. This is a Board of Adjustment matter on a requested variance. As we do this often, please be reminded that in a quasi-judicial hearing, you are not making the law, but rather applying the law to establish criteria within the city's code based on the competent substantial evidence offered before you this evening. The competent substantial evidence comes in the form of staff reports, staff presentations, and any speakers or evidence speakers may offer you tonight. Before we begin, has any member of this body had any ex parte communications with the applicant? That is, have you talked to the applicant outside of this hearing?
No.
I said
As to this matter?
I said hello to them, but
Okay, that's okay. So seeing none, has any member of this body done a site visit for the limited purpose of evaluating this application?
no.
All have responded in the negative. With that, will anybody who intends to offer any testimony before this body tonight, that means if you're going to speak about this application, please stand up, raise your right hand, including staff. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are going to give before this body is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. With that, Hetty?
Okay. This is to extend the dock an extra 6 feet. Normally our dock lengths are 35 feet unless it's shallow water. About 6 months ago, the original dock was permitted at 50 feet. And then since then, we went back and discovered that, you know, the mangroves were actually getting closer to the dock, and he wanted to extend the dock size to 10 feet instead of 4 feet. That means they were given an extra 6 feet onto the allowed length on the dock. Now the staff recommended approval, and the Board of Adjustment also recommended approval. But as you can see here on the aerial, where the mangroves are located on these lots. So.
Does anyone have any questions for Hetty at this time? Commissioner?
Hetty, do you know, has this property been taken for a long time?
Well, it hasn't. When they originally went 6 months ago, they applied for the permit through Ellis County, and then they came to the city. And they, but since they had to apply for the building permit, it had to sit and wait. So then he came back 6 months later and, you know, revised his application. But now they're actually, you know, starting to build on that lot. So
How long has it been a vacant lot?
a long time, from what I can gather. Yeah,
Because it's odd that there's
3 of them.
and there's no mangroves anywhere else in the
I know.
right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not saying that anyone's cutting the mangroves, but it seemed to be strange that everyone else as let's
Yeah.
say, Pedro.
I mean, actually, the next two ones I think were vacant too, but it was one big lot, now they're doing two houses there, so.
Thank you. No question.
Anyone else have any questions for Debbie?
Were you happy?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I wanted to ask, any residents objecting to the additional
No.
footage? Okay.
Would the applicant like to come forward at this time? Hi.
Hi.
Would you like to add anything that Hetty brought to?
I would just say, I think everything you described is pretty much spot on. For what we know, we believe that that lot has been vacant. I don't think that there's been anything ever built on it. And next door, the other two lots, there was, I believe, one house that was on those two lots. Both of the neighbors on either side, we did present the revised plan to them. They've approved it, they've signed off on it, so they're fully aware of what we're trying to accomplish as well.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions for the applicant? If not, I'm going to have you sit right here in the front, and we will open the public hearing and see if there's anyone who would like to make a comment at this time. Is there anyone who'd like to come forward at this time?
I'm Joe Place with Enterprise Marine Contractors, the contractor for the project. And it's pretty basic. I just want to say you can tell by the uniqueness of the mangroves and why we're trying to get the extension out further, to get the boat out into deeper water. And we're restricted for at least the first 30 feet of even getting out to water out there. So it's a pretty basic request.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions? Okay. If there aren't anyone else who would like to speak at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing. And Hetty, is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, just.
Applicant? You're good?
You get the final say,
Yeah.
so.
I always forget the applicant and Hetty, then he reminds me. With that, does the commission, is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve case number 2019-08, 349 12th Avenue for approval.
And is there a second? Is there any comments that you'd like to make, Commissioner Flagg?
No, I think saving the mangroves is a good thing, and it looks like we're not impeding the waterway or any of the neighbor surrounding areas, so I'm very comfortable with it.
Okay,
Likewise, same reasons.
perfect. At this time, would you like to call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Commissioner Flagg?
Yes.
Commissioner Hannah?
Yes.
Commissioner Hufnagel?
Yes, and for the record, I would like it to reflect that I believe the existence of the mangroves is a hardship on the property owner.
Thank you for that. Vice Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. Good luck to the property.
Thank you very much.
With that, we'll go to public hearing 6C, BOA case number 2019-09, 329 La Hacienda Drive. At this time, Randy, would you?
This is for a variance request from section 110-131, sub 1, sub F, sub 1 of 4.25 feet into the required 25-foot front yard setback, resulting in a total front yard setback of 20.75 feet to allow for a carport addition on the front of the house. This is also a quasi-judicial proceeding. All the same rules discussed apply. Has any member of the commission had any ex parte communications with the applicant?
No.
Other than salutations. Has any member of the commission conducted a site visit for the limited purpose of evaluating this application? No. All responding in the negative. With that, will anybody who intends to offer testimony before this body on this application, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are going to give before this body is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Hetty?
Yes, the applicant would like to add on a carport onto the front of his house. As you can see, the front of the house sits back almost 40 feet from the property line. And I've got various pictures of what the existing is. He's got a small single-family garage now. And just kind of giving a view up and down the street. And this is the proposed addition, and so therefore he would be, into the front yard setback would be 20.9 feet instead of the 25-foot setback. And he would enlarge it for a 2-car garage, and this gets pretty light, but it's basically covering, for 2 cars, it has to go over past the one window, and the new driveway would extend out. He would like, they have 4 cars, of course, but they're making more room so they don't park on the street. Also, there are letters that came in since the Board of Adjustment case, with neighbors supporting him to be allowed to put up the carport.
Very good. Is there anyone on the commission who'd like to ask a question?
What are the dimensions of the carport?
I
have a hard time.
I know.
It's 20 by 25, 20 feet from the house to the street and 25 wide. And the reason for the 25 wide, sorry.
But actually, it's 21 to the post, and I think the 25 would be the overhang on it. So
21 feet deep.
it's 20 feet deep.
20 feet deep.
Yeah. This way deep.
25 feet wide for 2 cars.
Right, for the overhang.
Right.
With the overhang. The posts are at 21.
We know how long a car is generally.
Usually the garages are about 20 feet.
Garages.
Yeah.
There's room for a washer and dryer, but this is a carport, not a garage.
Right, right. And what the issue is too is that the only way to get to the backyard is next to the house. Because of how close the house is to the street and all the plantings on the right side.
I'm talking about the depth of the carport.
Okay.
I'm talking about the
Depth, 20 feet.
deep.
That's a normal size for a garage.
A garage.
Yeah.
But not a carport.
Well, if you have a, just remember the old Cadillacs were 20 feet. Because a lot of people used to not be able to park their caddies in the garages.
Right.
Because they used to make them 18. So, let me just look at something real quick.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
My question was on dimensions.
But the variance is for the depth, not the width.
Right.
That's right. Okay.
Anyone else have any questions for Hetty?
Hetty, is there a rendering of what the carport is going to look
Well,
like?
it's right here. I mean, it's just the front elevation.
Okay, and I'm assuming that's all open.
It's all open.
With the columns.
Right.
Would you state your name and
Court.
as the applicant?
Yes, Court D'Antema, 329 Lahasi.
Does anyone have any, well, first of all, is there anything that you would like to add?
Sure, yeah, so the picture there, so the roof line will be the same as the house. I'm trying to make it look like it was always there, so it's not a flat roof. It actually is the, what is it, not gable, but hip roof, thank you. It's a hip roof, so it will look like I said, like it always existed. The driveway is very narrow now, so that's a problem I have. I have to stack the cars in, and so I'm trying to get some width there so I can put the cars in and get the cars off the street like Patty was saying. The pillars will be concrete to match the house, stucco just like the house with lighting and so forth. I did some research on the size of the garage. I guess an average garage is 20 by 20. What Hetty was saying is that in the front there, for me to get to the backyard, I have to pass by the existing garage and walk through there. So I'm trying to give myself a little bit of distance so that the cars aren't pushed right against the house. So that's why I thought 20 would work well. Also, the main reason for it is to get the cars off the street. We had an accident there not too long ago with my wife where she was coming out and opened the door and a car just missed her and crushed the door. And there's been some other close calls and so forth. So trying to just get the cars off the street so it's a little more safer for us. And all the neighbors seem to be fine with it as well. There's other homes in the neighborhood as well that have gotten variances. I think through my presentation there, you'll see some photographs where it's showing kind of what's going on in the neighborhood a little bit.
You want to go through that then?
Yeah, so I just put something together real quick. Here's what our goals are. Of course, want to make it look very nice for the community. Trying to put up something that's not just flat roof with the aluminum type structures. I'm trying to make it look nice for the neighborhood. It's a mid-century modern home, so I'm trying to keep it, that type of style. So that's the existing home. I think you've seen the pictures, and then that's the rendering of what it's going to look like. And so just some bullet points there that we've talked about already. Neighbors have provided emails. I think they're providing the packet there for you. I think there's 3 or 4 of them. That's, we've already talked about that. So this is what I'm trying to avoid. We've had the cars parked all over the place, so it looks a little bit nicer. Same thing there, cars in the street. So here is a Google map picture. So the home in the upper right corner, that home that was just recently, within the last year or so, was granted a 5-foot variance on the 25-foot setback. And then the home to the left there, I don't know how long that structure's been there, but you can see that's more than a 5-foot variance there. And then you can see my property there. There's the subject property right there somewhere in the middle.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Maybe I'll ask Court one question.
Yes.
I think it's an attractive addition, carport, and you've designed it to be open air, and you're good with that for parking your vehicles up there. I guess enlarging the driveway as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Anyone else? I'm going to have you, Court, sit right there, and what I'm going to do is, does anyone have any further questions for Hetty before I go out to the public comment? If not, I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on this agenda item? If not, we will close the public hearing. Hetty's already said that you're finished, and you are allowed to have the last comment. Is there anything else that you'd like to say, Court?
Just happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone who'd like to make a motion on this agenda item?
I would like to make the motion on BOA case 2019-09, 329 La Hacienda, to approve this, but I think with front yard setbacks, I'm especially concerned about, building out and having square footage space that really the exception isn't for. So I think since it's an open air, could we say that it's limited to being an open air carport and not later being an addition that's closed in with square footage and, beefed onto the front of the house where we've added that square footage.
I agree to that, absolutely.
Okay, wonderful.
So you can impose that restriction. It's reasonably related to the variance sought. So if I'm hearing you right, you're moving to grant the requested variance with the condition that the structure erected be an open-air carport, and any desire to close that area in would require separate application?
Correct.
Okay. With that, the motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Commissioner Flagg, do you have any other other comments besides what you have requested?
No, I think it'll be a very nice addition.
Okay. Nick?
No, I do not.
Okay, with that,
I do.
Okay.
Sorry, I have,
no, that's fine.
this, I'm struggling to see the hardship on this completely. I went through the Board of Adjustments, and they seem to be split on it as well. In the application, everything about hardship is left blank. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a nice looking facade on the house, or that it's, that it looks nice. I don't understand what is the purpose of the variance vis-a-vis be a hardship if there's not one. Randy, do you want to, how are we supposed to be interpreting when a hardship is left blank on the application?
I'm pausing so I make sure I ground my comments in legal analysis. You're the body charged with determining whether there's sufficient evidence in the record to establish that a hardship exists. So as you review the application, the testimony, written submissions, or otherwise, that is your call to make based on the competent substantial evidence in the record before you. So that's how I would respond to that.
That's fair. Yeah, thank you. I don't have any further questions.
If there are not any further questions or comments from the rest of the commission, at this time, Randy, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Flagg?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanna?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoofnagel?
No.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Good luck, and I appreciate the fact that you are going to be getting the cars off the street. It's a very huge problem in this community, and we are going to be tackling it next year. So I appreciate that you'll be getting cars off the street. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
With that, we will go to agenda item 6D, ABT case number 10-2019, Baked Battalion LLC, 321 Golf Boulevard. With that, Randy?
Yes,
would
one
you
moment,
read?
one moment, Mayor, getting there in the submission. This is for ABT case number 10-2019. Gubuz Kabruhulu, doing business as Baked Batata LLC, has requested a 2 COP alcoholic beverage use designation for beer, wine by the drink for consumption on or off premises where sold for the establishment Anecdote Brewing Company located at 321 Gulf Boulevard, Unit D, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, and legally described as IBR Plaza LLC Sublot 1. I suspect that's IRB Plaza LLC Sublot 1. With that, has any member of this commission had any ex parte communications with the applicant on this issue?
No.
Has anybody conducted a site visit for the limited purpose of evaluating this application? With that, Greg, who is presenting on this?
Well, you really covered it, but I'll make brief comments since Dean's not here.
Okay.
It's a new business in town. They desire to sell beer and wine there. And that's really, it's in you've already approved a business next door that has the brew pub that's in the process of opening. I got several other establishments in the business district that serve alcohol, so the request is not out of the ordinary. The only comment I would make about it is there's reference in the staff report to outside seating. All due respect to the commission, I think Deanne put that in there for educational reasons, but that's not really under the purview of the commission. After 3, 4, or 5 years, I guess, whatever length of time that building's been there, we very soon the building will be completely full. They've maxed out the parking spaces that we have there, so we would not allow any outside seating for any of those businesses there. So I just want to kind of clear that up on the front end. But as far as the request itself is pretty routine and it's not out of the ordinary. You've got the background that they ran to the sheriff's office, all that's fine. So.
Okay, with that, is there anyone that has any questions for the city manager tonight? Hearing none, would the applicant like to come forward?
Is the applicant or agent present?
Yes, right here.
Please come forward, sir. And before you come forward, do you swear or affirm, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give before this body is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I did.
Okay. As you approach, please state your name and address for the record.
Sure.
And then you can proceed.
My name is Guruz Karolu, and I'm not a resident in Rocks Beach, but the business address is 321 Gulf Boulevard in Rocks Beach, Baked Batata. So, yeah, we're doing something, trying something different. We're doing some potatoes with different toppings, and a lot of customers, a lot of tourists, I would say more than 50% of the population trying us, asked us if we had beer, and that was the kind of starting point that we recommend, throughout the recommendations, and we consider that we should add bottled beer only to our menu, and that was the only reason. And like Greg mentioned, that next door is going to be still under construction, but it's going to be brewery, and there are a lot of different businesses, and less than 50 feet to us. They also serve beer, bottled beer, and liquor as well. So that was the whole perspective.
Is there anyone who has any questions for the applicant? Okay.
Excuse me. So in the past, new businesses, we've put a 6-month, for the first 6 months, we'll monitor, your usage of this license, and if there's any issues, we have the right to revoke at that point. Do you have any problems with that? That would be something I want to put in consideration for this motion.
Okay.
Very similar to what we've done for all other.
Yeah, there's the, as you make the motion, I think this is in your packets, there's usually a clause not necessarily limited to the 6-month period, but stating disruptions, et cetera, may lead to, and I'm paraphrasing, but you have that in your package.
I was going to keep it consistent with everything else that we.
Understood.
Is there anyone else who has?
Yeah, I would just ask for clarity reasons that hopefully the commission will agree that that's not something we have to report back. We only report back if there's a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's only same restriction we put on everybody else, nothing different, nothing specific to this business.
Commissioner Hammond? Okay. Commissioner Hoffman?
No more questions.
Commissioner Flood, are you okay? Is there anything else that anyone wants to learn from the staff? If not, does the applicant? Oh no, I have to go, I'm going to have you sit right here for just a second. Is there anyone who would like to speak from the public at this time on this agenda item? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing. There's nothing else said from the staff. You may make a closing remark if you'd like.
I wish everybody happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
All right. Is there anyone who'd like to make a motion on this agenda item?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve ABT case number 10-2019, with the stipulation that repeated or intermittent nuisance activity and/or unlawful noise levels originating from the establishment or the parking area may result in the revocation of the alcoholic beverage designation.
And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Would the maker like to make any other comments?
No comment.
Okay. And Mr. Hammond?
No?
Okay. With that, Randy, would you call the roll?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Commissioner Hoofnagel?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanna?
Yes.
Commissioner Flagg?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes. Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
And I have to come and visit. I'm right by you. So
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you
Have a
very
nice
much.
holiday. With that, we're on agenda item number 7, other legislative matters. We have none. Agenda item number 8, work session. We have none. Number 9, other business. We have none. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays. Thank you for being here tonight with us.
Very good.